Well, good morning, and I have a question for you. Can you solve this or simplify this in 20 seconds? Sometimes two. Okay. So as you guys are working this out, this is 15 minus 3 minus 2 plus 1 squared. Okay? So it's a crazy blob, so that's not supposed to be there. So as we take a look at this, we're going to see if we can simplify this. Let's go. Alright, so as we take a look, we have our 15 minus, we have a bracket, 3 minus parenthesis, 2 plus 1 squared, end bracket. So as you guys are walking yourselves through these concepts, this is exactly what we're doing. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So we are taking on that order of operation. So as we're taking a look, we have to do inside the parentheses. So actually, let me rewrite here. So now we're doing what's inside the parenthesis. So we have that 2 plus 1. So we have our 15 minus, we have our bracket, a 3 minus 3 squared. So now that we took care of the parenthesis, now we need the exponent. There you go, Burger. Thank you. So we have our 15 minus, we have 3 minus, now 3 squared. 3 squared is not 3 times 2. 3 squared is 9. That's 3 times 3. A lot of people usually, probably like a good, I want to say a good 92% of people generally get this wrong when they first see it. So 3 squared, that means 3 times 3, which gives me 9. So now we have our 15 minus, and what are we subtracting? 3 plus a negative 9. So we're combining. So if someone owed you $9 and they paid you 3, that means they owed you $6. Okay? So Country Time, I see you. Oh, how are you? I haven't seen you in a minute. Alright? So now we have 15 minus a negative 6. So when you minus a negative 6, this is another part that I want to say at least a good 86% of students usually get this part wrong. They just go ahead and say, all right, let me just bring it down. So it's 15 minus 6. No, it's minus a negative 6. So when you minus a negative, that actually turns positive. So we actually have 15 plus 6. And then 15 plus 6, that will give us our 21. Okay? So if it's not the squared that's getting people, it's usually this part right here when you minus the negative. Okay? Gotcha. Alright? So that's when we give us our 21. There we go. Alright? So that is our order of operations. So you can either do it as please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and then of course for my international peeps, you have your B, O, D, M, A, S. Okay, you have your Badmas. Okay? Alright. Okay. So let's take a look. So the next one, let's see what we can get for this one. Alright, let's see if we can solve this 20 seconds. Let's go. Yes, B is for brackets, O is for other exponents, maybe other parentheses. Then you have D for division, M for multiplication, A for addition, and S for subtraction. Okay. So, Nicola, I see you. Thank you for your answer. Okay. I know, right, Mel? The more and more I do a lot of this math, the more and more I hear what other cultures or other parts of the world is doing with math. It's kind of interesting. Okay, Endman, I see you. Okay, Justin, thank you so much for the follow. Thanks for everyone coming in. I know it's a little break in your busy schedule. So, what else? Okay, Dylan, I see you. Burger, I see you. All right. Okay, Jules, hello. Welcome back, Jules. Okay, I see you. All right. Okay, notice when I say I see you. I think it's always important to be seen, even if it's like a major way. Is that Lie? Is that Laya or Leah? Okay, or neither. Okay, Aranta, I see you. Mel, I see you. Country Time, I see it. Leah, okay, thank you. Well, welcome in, Leah. All right, so let's take a look. Harley, I see you as well as J. Carlos. I see you. Okay. Morale, I see you. Cray, I see you. Joyce, I see you. All right, let's take a look. So we have a base of a -2. Calva, I see you as well. All right. Hey, Monstro, I see you. Welcome back. All right. So we have our -2 and we are dividing. All right. Okay. So when we take a look, our base is the -2. When they have the same base and you're dividing, you're actually subtracting the exponents. So when you're subtracting your exponents, you have your 8 minus the 5. And when we have -2 raised to the third power. Now, to the third power is also the same as cubed. So what we're doing when you're seeing people giving me like a negative, if you are, make sure you put parentheses around a -2, because -2 cubed is completely different from the parentheses being around the -2 and cubed. And let me show you why. So when you are writing out your -2 to the third power here, this is saying I'm taking -2 and I'm multiplying it 3 times. Whereas this one down here is saying I have a negative, but I'm multiplying the base of 2 to itself. Oops, I was thinking 3. 3 times. Here you have a negative times a negative, which will give you a +4. And +4 and -2 will give us our answer of -8. But down here, you have 2 times 2, which give you 4, times that 2 gives you 8, but the negative just comes on down. Okay? So if we ever do something, it's not really going to be a negative times a negative, and then you have a positive times a negative. You're saying, well, Audrey, it's the same thing. True. But if I use a different number, let's see, -4, with parentheses, versus 4. So 4 times 4 will give us a +16 times a -4, which gives us a -64. This one will just give you a +64 and then just slaps on a negative on there. Okay? I thought you did the cube root of 2. Oh no. The cube root of 2? No. Alright. Let's go. Alright, so there's always a difference between when you put the negative inside the parenthesis versus the negative being outside the parenthesis. Try this one. Yep, so it's negative 8. What if, pause, what if the exponent is an even number without parentheses? So you're just multiplying the base as number, I think it's Ophelia. You just multiply the base how many times the exponent tells you. So it could be even, it could be odd, and so forth. Alright. So I see Amelia is back. Yosef, I see you. User 97, I see you. Mel, I see you. Mila, I see you. Welcome back. Red X, I see you. Charlie, May, I see a number. It's actually not going to be just a number, but I do see your answer. Okay. With this one, we have a function. So it's function notation. There you go, Penn. There you go, Brenda. Alright. Bleach King, might want to say. It's pretty negative still. No. Okay, let me show for a second. Let me finish this one and go back to that one. So, h of x is equal to 4x. We want to find the h of x minus 1. So notice the expression. We're so used to seeing a number, but this time we got an expression. This expression is in the same spot as x. So what happens is when you have your h of x minus 1, wherever you see an x in the expression here, that's what you're going to replace that x with. So now this side, you're not looking at anymore. This is just to remind you what you substitute in for the x. So now, this is what a lot of people are doing, is distributing this 4 to everything inside the parenthesis. So 4 times x gives me 4x, and 4 times negative 1 gives me negative 4. So this is why your answer of h of x minus 1 is 4x minus 4. Okay. Okay, John Porky got 12. How? Okay. Alright. So, especially for all my other peeps here, if they said if it's even, so going back to the exponents, so if we had negative 2 times negative 2, a negative times a negative give me a positive, so we got a positive 4. But if I do this, is to say negative, and then you have a positive 2 times positive 2. So this will give me a negative 4, because 2 times 2 is a positive 4, positive 4, and then you have your negative slapped on. Good morning, PJ. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Okay, Gospel by Gino. Confused? Confused on this or confused on the previous one? It all depends on when you got here. Okay? So, for the cubes, like everyone was saying, if I kept it with an odd exponent, it's going to give me a negative either way. But if it's an even exponent, if I don't use the parentheses, you'll see the difference of your answers. Okay? The previous one? Okay. So for this one, they gave us, I don't know where the card went, but they gave us, oh, here it is. The h of x is equal to 4x. Then we have the h of x minus 1. So notice that the x minus 1 is in the same spot as x. So all we did was, where we see an x for this expression here, we just substitute x minus 1 in place of this x. Hence, that's what happened here. So now, Kevin, or Calvin, this is not the place for you. Okay? So we have 4 times x and 4 times 1. So when you do 4 times x, gives you 4x, and 4 times negative 1, which gives you negative 4. Okay? Makes sense now? Okay. Alright. Alright. Let's try another one. Okay? Let's translate this. Okay. There you go, Gino. Gotcha. Okay. Twice the product of 5 and a number. Yeah, I blocked them already. It's hilarious. Usually when they do it once and I just say stop, they just leave. But he wanted to be rude. Okay. Construct, see what you have. Okay, you can just go ahead and put it into the comments. Mr. Louse, thank you. Well, Penn, here's the thing. If you read the direction of people coming in, this is really for people that are trying to get their GED, the ASVAT, the Accuplacer, and they're trying to build up their math skills. So I'm not going to have like dissertation of all this stuff because that's not going to help them. So I'm really working with people that haven't seen math in a long time and they need to take an exam to, 1, keep their jobs or get a better job, to 2, maybe to teach their kids because they're like, dude, I haven't seen this since I was in school. So a lot of the questions I do is not to scare people into math, is really to take the math, take the knowledge, and be able to build themselves up. So, okay? Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay? Because I know a lot of people are like, why don't you do the dissertation of da-da-da? And I'm like, read the room, dude. You know, because there's so many other people that have it. I know because a lot of people like how I teach. So that's what makes it like, oh, I would love to have you as my, teacher and all this other stuff. But this is the way that I break things down. Okay? All right. So I did see Gigi, I see you. Black Power, not a problem. Okay. Gospel by Gino. Okay. Good. Alright. Inwa. Alright. Laura, I see you. Okay. Dot, I see you. Ale, I see you. Okay. And Monster, I had you earlier. Brenda, I see you. Poppy. Oh, there it is. I haven't said hola to Poppy in a long time. Hey. Okay. So now, let's take a look. Alright, Amelia, I see you. So now, we're going to take an extension. Because you're right. Twice the product of 5 and a number. So when you're doing that twice, that means you're multiplying. And what are you multiplying by 2? You're multiplying the product, which is multiplication again, of 5 and a number. So if I'm multiplying, we could say 5n or we could say 5x. But then, if I'm multiplying a product, I can multiply this again. I can make that 10x. Okay, so that's a possibility. Good. So now let's extend on this. Let's see if we can make it into either an equation or an inequality. Do you want 1, 2, or 3? Okay, put that into the chat. 1, 2, or 3. Aile's like, it's always going to be 2. She was take 2 to the end of the time. Alright, so we got 2, we got 2, we got 2, we got 2. We have a 3. We have a 2. Okay. So all you're picking is 1, 2, and 3. So far, let's see what the next one is. Okay. There it is. Alright, so we're going to look at number 2. So what number 2 is at least 17. Okay? We need to translate that. Is at least 17. No, and is not plus. Okay? So Rory, and is not plus. Because when they say product of, that means you're going to be multiplying, but multiplying two things. The and is here to separate what the two things are. So when they say product of, that means I'm multiplying. What am I multiplying? I'm multiplying 5 and a number. Okay? So a lot of people, and can be addition, but not in this case. And that's another thing that throws people off. Okay? Alright. Okay, at least 17. Alright, so PJ, I see you. Monster, I see you. Big Al, I see you. Laura, I see you. Okay. So did that make sense for you, Rory? Okay, Gospel by Gino. I see your answer. Alright, so we have a nice little combination. And that's why we do some of these word problems. Alright, so let's take a look. Is at least 17. When the word is in front of at least or less than or greater than, okay, or at most. When that word is in front of that, we're looking at inequalities. Now, at least. So that means you will have the lowest that you would go, but you are expecting higher things. So at least is like if I want to make at least $100 today, that means the lowest I want to make today is $100. Alright, if I make $500, yay! Okay, I'm still in what my goal was. The lowest I wanted to make was 100. So in this case, that's the same thing. I'm dealing with numbers that are going to be greater than or equal to 17. Okay? So when they say at least, you're actually doing the reverse. You're thinking of greater than or equal to. If it said at most, you're thinking of less than or equal to. And they use this terminology a lot, and especially when you're doing, like, say, system of equation or system of inequalities. Okay, so it's going to be greater than or equal to. So put it all together, we have 10x is greater than or equal to 17. Okay, so now let's solve this. What would x supposed to equal? So what do I do to get x by itself? Okay, what do I do to get x by itself? Okay, what do I do to get x by itself? Okay, what do I do to get x by itself? Okay, so Al, I see you. Okay, E, I see you. Andrea, divide by what, Andrea? Take a look at your answer. Monster, I see you. Big Al, I see you. Okay. So we're going to divide both sides by 10. Okay? 10 divided by 10 will give me 1. And 1x and x means the same exact thing. Now, there you go. Thank you, Andrea. No problem. Hey, I got them too, so don't worry. So we got 17 over 10. Now, 17 over 10, can that be reduced? Do they have anything in common other than 1? Okay, and Big Al already knows. Big Al already knows. All right, so Big Al, why are we not flipping that inequality sign? Why are we going to keep this inequality sign exactly the same? Right. Okay. It's positive. What's positive, PJ? What's positive? You're right there. Okay, no negative number. What's not negative number? The answer? Not the answer. Yes. Okay, Mila. Awesome. Right here. We didn't divide by a negative number. This only sign, so it's not going to be your answer is negative. It's because right here we didn't divide by a negative number. Okay? When we don't divide by a negative number, we do not flip the direction of the sign. So if I had something like negative 2x is, I don't know, greater than or equal to 18. Okay, I know I would divide both sides by negative 2. So that means I have my x, I have my negative 9. But because I divided by a negative answer, I had to change the direction of the inequality. Okay, that's when you flip it. So it doesn't matter if the answer is negative. Like if I said 6x is less than or equal to negative 18. If I divide both sides by 6, I got my x, I got my negative 3. But here's the thing. I did not divide by a negative number. So my inequality is going to stay the same. Okay, you're so welcome. Right. Look at you. Love that. All right. So when you divide by a positive, it doesn't change. Even if your answer is a negative, it doesn't change. Only when you divide by a negative number, that's when the inequality sign flips. Okay. All right. Let's try another one. Translate that one. And you can put it right into the chat. Translate that. Okay, PJ, I see you. Big Al, I see you. Okay, Brenda, I see you. Okay, Al, I see you. Monstro, I see you. Okay, Gospel by Gino. I see you, but we don't need a +1. Okay, if you don't know what the number is, that's when you use a variable. Okay. Alright, so we have our 2/3 That's our fraction. Of means multiplication of a number. Okay? I'm going to use n this time. Okay? So 2/3 of a number is 2/3 times n. So 2/3 is our fraction. So let's see if we can do an extension. So let's see if we can do an extension. So 1, 2, or 3. What do you think? 1, 2, or 3. Thanks for the follow, Dixon. Okay, Monstro, you're going with 1. Let's see. PJ with 3. Okay. L, you're switching it to 1. Okay. Alright, so we got a tie with 1 to 3. Alright. Delightful bites. Okay, 3. Alright, got 1. Still tied up. So it's between 3 and 1. Okay, got 2. Yeah, I was like, I want to go against the grain. Alright. So let's see. All we had to pick is like 1, 2, or 3. So we got a tie between 1 and 3. Okay, and you broke it. There we go. So we got number 1. So what do we got? Is not less than the product of the number and 5. Ooh. Is not less than the product of the number and 5. Huh. How are we going to do that? What does that says to you? How do we break that down? Okay, confused? Okay. Alright, we're going to walk it through. Alright. So, it's not less than. Think about it. It's not less than. So let's try to see what you have. The product of a number and 5. Okay. Ale. Got that. PJ. Okay, I see your answer. Okay. You forgot the N. Okay. Alright. So for those that you're just like, yeah, I don't know, put a question mark in the chat. It's a good 82% of us, so it's a good small enough group that will be okay. It's a safe space. So I'm not going to like, oh my God, you don't get this? Well, there's a reason why I'm here. To help break concepts down. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to support. Okay? Alright, so PJ, thank you for your honesty. Alright, Big Al, I see you. Aunt, thank you for your honesty. Okay? And it's perfectly fine because I'm going to address it so we can see it and be able to apply it. Okay? Okay, Novas, I see you. Thank you for your honesty. Okay? Alright, let's break it down. Okay, is not less than. Let's talk about that part. So, if it's not less than, that means it has to be the opposite. It needs to be greater than. Okay? So I hate to say, because of that word is, we're dealing with inequalities. Okay? Not subtraction. Okay? If that word is wasn't there, that means we're subtracting. But because that word is there, we're dealing with the inequality. And if it's not less than, that means it's greater than. Now, greater than or not less than what? Here's the next part. The product of. So product, that's associated with multiplication. So since they said the product of, that means I'm multiplying two things. And what are the two things that we're multiplying? Which comes down here, the number, so that means I'm using my n, and 5. So I'm multiplying the number and 5, which I can simply write it as 5n. Okay? Yeah, well, it just says not less than. Didn't give us the equal to. Not less than. So if it's not less than, it's greater than. Okay, we don't want to add things into it. Okay, we don't want to add things to it. Hey, Angela, how are you? Okay, so now this is what we got to do. We have variables on both sides of the inequality sign. Alright, this is when it gets hairy and scary. That's why I kind of like these little extensions, because I have no idea what's going to come up, because we don't know what the beginning part is. Okay? In this case, it's not even equal to. Okay? You can't assume. It didn't say at least. If it said at least, I would have the equal to. You're assuming extra stuff. And this is what's making things a little off. Okay? Alright, so we can't add the equal to, because it didn't say is not at least. It says not less than. Okay? So now, if we want to, which we're going to get to, where did I get the 2/3? Well, you missed it earlier. This was the beginning portion. This was the first card. Okay? What are my credentials? You can Google me, Audrey Codner. Codner, Codner. You'll see everything about me. Okay, everything is there. Alright? So, when we do this, we want to get our n's to the one side. So you have 2/3 n, then you minus your 5n, keeping your greater than sign, and it's going to equal 0. Okay? So with this, let me move this over. Alright? So, if you want to, you could have subtracted 2/3. Perfectly fine. But since we have to move our n's to one side of the equal sign, it's almost like regardless of what you're going to get over here, you're either going to have to multiply or divide it to the 0. Okay? So when I'm looking at my 2/3, let's practice up on subtracting our fractions. Okay? When you have a fraction and you have a whole number, what's most important when you are subtracting? What's important? We have to have a common what? We have to have a what? There you go, mom's child. There you go. And Angela, yes, we have to make it into a fraction, and we need to have a common denominator. Excellent. So we need to change this whole number to a fraction. And how we can do it without devaluing the 5, we put it over 1. Okay? So now we need for our common denominator to be the, I'll put over here, the LCD. So if we're looking at the 3 times table, or values of 3, and we're looking at 1. So 3 times table, we have our 3, we have our 6, we have our 9s, and so forth, right? For the 1s, we have 1, we have 2, we have 3. So the lowest common, the lowest number that they both have in common is 3. Okay? Alright? So some people call it the least common multiple. So that means you're looking at the multiplication tables. I just said denominator because that's what we're looking at. Alright? So if we need our denominators to be 3's, and who said that? Verno, thank you. All right, so that means right here it already has a denominator with a 3 in it. So we just have to bring that 2 down. But here I have to multiply this denominator by 3. And whatever I do into the denominator, I have to do in its numerator. So when we multiply the 3 and the 1, we get our 3. We multiply the 5 and the 3, we get our 15. Okay. So now, if we do our subtraction, we're keeping our denominator. We have 2 minus 15, that gives me a negative 13n. And now we can bring down our greater than 0. Okay. How am I going to justify 0 is greater than 0? 0 doesn't have a positive or a negative. So it's going to be 0. And I said that in the beginning when you were too busy looking at my credentials. So, because you have to remember. So even though we can do all this stuff, we're just practicing working on our fractions, as I mentioned early on. So when we are dividing, we're going to have to divide. Reason why, negative 13 thirds times n, that's multiplication. In order for us to get rid of it, we're going to have to do like division. And it's going to look like a crazy double-decker. So this is why some people do what's called multiplying the reciprocal. So I'm going to show you in 2 steps, 2 ways actually. And you pick which way you want. Because when it comes down to breaking these down, you're going to be the one that's taking the test, not me. So I really want to make sure that you understand what's going on. So we can do this one of 2 ways. We could, since we have division here, we could multiply both sides by 3. Just multiply both sides by the denominator so you can get it out of that fraction form. Because 3 divided by 3 will give me 1. And anything times 1 is going to be itself. So then I can bring down my negative 13n. Then you have greater than 0 times 3. Anything times 0 is 0. Okay? Usually if it's a test, if I see anything like this is going to be equal or greater than or less than 0, my answer is going to probably be 0. Because guess what happens? Negative 13 times n, that means I'm going to do the inverse, which is negative 13, doing the division. So negative 13 divided by negative 13 gives me 1n, or n. And since we divided by a negative, what happens? Okay? Since we divided by a negative, what happens? Yes, Monstro. Yes. We're going to flip. This is when your inequality flips. Yes. Excellent. So we got our less than, and guess what it is? 0. So we're not going to have nothing over here. Okay? We have a number, and that number could be anything. If as long as it is less than 0, it's going to make our original, it's going to make this original into a true statement. Okay? Not really the bigger. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number, that's when the inequalities switch. Okay? That's when the inequalities switch. Now, that's one way of us breaking it down. The other way, grab this pen, let me do it like this. We had a negative 13 thirds n, which was greater than 0. Another way that we can break this down is we are going to multiply, but you're going to multiply both sides by what's called the reciprocal. So we're going to flip this. So it will be my 3 over negative 13. My 3 over negative 13. Okay? The reason why you would do that, there you go, is take a look. Some of your butterfly simplification. We have 3 divided by 3. That gives us 1. We have negative 13 divided by negative 13. A negative divided by negative still gives us a positive. And then 13 divided by 13, that gives me a 1. So what comes down is your n. Okay? Now, like we said, anything times 0 is going to give me 0. And since we multiplied, here we go, remember, since we multiplied by a negative number, what happens? Our inequality sign flips. Okay? And that would be an open circle on the number line. Yes. Going in which direction, Maestro? Maestro, which direction? Yes, Big Al. There we go. Alright. Okay. Is this a calculus class? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. But the people that are here are brilliant. Okay, we're overcoming our math phobia. Step by step, guys. Yes, you would go into the left. Good. Excellent. Alright? So this is why they always say the rule, when you multiply or divide by a negative number, okay, we divided here, we multiplied here, you have to change the direction of the sign. And I believe that if you just know some of these small tidbits, you will raise your score, because you probably didn't know when exactly to flip the sign, so you kept picking the one that the sign wasn't flipped. You got the same result, but you didn't flip that sign. Why would it be open? Excellent. So when you're dealing with less than or greater than, okay, you're not including the number. So we're looking at numbers that are less than 0. It's not including it. It's dealing with numbers that are less than. So when you graph, it will be an open circle because we're still starting at 0. But you're going to shade to the left because this is where you go all the way to negative infinity. All your negative numbers are to the left of 0. All your positive numbers are to the right of 0. Okay? So the reason why you have an open circle, because you're not including it. But if it was less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, let's say the answer was still 0. But say it was less than or equal to, that's going to be a dot. I love when people say a closed circle. Closed circle is a dot, right? And since and I'm looking at n is less than or equal to 0. So that means I'm including the 0. Anytime, think of the words less than or equal to. If it's going to be equal, that means it's going to include the 0. And then you're going to shade to the left. Okay? So When you don't have the line underneath, you're not including the number. But when you do have that line underneath, you are including the number. Underneath, you're not including the number. But when you do have that line underneath, you are including the number. Okay? Now, when it comes to the graphing, I want to add this other tidbit because it all depends on what test you're taking. So, we know it as dots or circles, and that's usually for Algebra 1, a little bit, maybe the introduction of going into Algebra 2. But if you're thinking about taking the Accuplacer, you're less than or equal to, you might see it as parentheses. You're like, oh God, I know. It all depends on what test you're taking. But I want to say GED, high school equivalency test. ASVAT, you're definitely seeing it like this. But you might see it if you're thinking about taking your praxis. You might see parentheses and brackets. If it's included, it's brackets. So let's say we have x is less than or equal to -5. We have x is greater than 4. And we're going to graph these two. Okay? When you're doing the number lines, you just have to sketch. Okay? You do not have to write 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look, when it comes to standardized tests, they're not doing that. Okay? They just want to know, is it A, B, C, or D? So when you do these, you just want to sketch them out. So whatever is supposed to be at the number at the end, you can just stick them right in the middle. That's perfectly fine. Now, since this is less than or equal to, that means I'm doing a bonded. Okay? That means it's going to be enclosed. But since it's less than, that means my shading is going to be going to the left. So that means all the numbers that are less than. But here's that equal to. So you have a bracket opening up the direction that all your numbers. So you're basically saying solid stop here at -5. Boom. Okay? So it's opening up towards the left. So all those numbers all the way to -infinity. Okay? We have x is greater than 4. Well, that means you're dealing with the numbers that are larger than 4, all the way to positive infinity. So since it's not equal to, it's going to be a parenthesis, and it opens up in the direction which contains all the points that will give this a true statement. Okay. Those are the ones that you see in your algebra classes? Yes. So mostly for Algebra 2, some places they don't even do the dots and the open and closed circles anymore. Some of them do brackets and parentheses. Okay. And then they start getting into domain and range, but I'll pause for that part. Alright. Okay. Okie dokie. Alright, Smokies. So, we did a little bit. Okay? I love when people try to attack my credentials. I'm more than my credentials. I care about you. Getting to know and getting to know the process. So, we could do one of two things, because I really want to at least get one word problem in. Would you like for us to do one word problem and then we can officially be done? You're at domain and range? Okay. So remember, the domain is the list of your x's and the range is the list of your y's. Okay, yes, 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 yes. All right. Okay, so let's let me zoom in a little bit. Let me make this a little clearer. There you go. Okay. Think of your setup. So for those that are new to me, I know for a fact a lot of us struggle with fractions and with word problems. Everything else you're like, I think I can get through, I think I can piece it together. But as soon as you see a word problem, your brain just goes and just completely shuts down. Okay? I used to be the same exact way. So now, when it comes to word problems, you're trying to read it like you're reading a novel. And that's the wrong thing. You have to take on word problems like it is a detective. Okay? Mila, be careful. Be careful. Because it's a slight difference. So, like a detective, a crime had to be committed. So you're always asking what? Who's done it, right? So we're looking at, we need to find B when T of B, so that tells me we're dealing with functions, is equal to 2346. That's all right. I appreciate you trying. You got it. There's one thing you just have to switch, and I'm going to show you. Okay? So now we have our, what did they give us? Here's my clue. They gave me an equation. And they're telling me what B represents. B is the number of books purchased. We're used to seeing that, whatever's inside the parenthesis is representing B. But notice, in this equation, we don't have a B. We already have our B. There's nothing else that's there. But what they're saying is TB equals this. There you go. Okay, that's all right. Please, please, please. Because you're doing very well. Please, don't make me feel like I'm demoralizing you. If I do apologize. Because that's the last thing I ever want to do to anyone. So take a look. This time they switched it up. They're telling me what TB equals. So that means they're taking this 23.46. Don't want to behave? Okay, we'll try a different one. And we're replacing with the TB. So it's going to look like this. So you have 23.46 is equal to 4.99 B plus 3.50. Okay, do you see what happened? Yep, that's what Ailes got. Alright, so what we did was, we don't substitute for the B anymore. We're substituting that whole expression TB. Because that's what they say. TB is equal to the 23.46. So we're going to replace this with this. Alright? So now we need to find what B is. We want to find the number of books purchased. So that's how it would trick you up a little bit. So first thing, let's try to isolate this B. So we're going to keep this right where it is. So what needs to go is my minus 350. Okay. So we had a positive 350. We're going to subtract 350. So that gives me 0. We don't need that placeholder of 0 because we still have our 499b to bring down. Okay? So now we're subtracting. 6 minus 0, that gives me 6. 4 minus 5, I'm going to need a little help. Make that into a 2. Make that into a 1. So now we got 14, right? So then we got our 9. And then you can look at it as 22 minus 3. So that will give us our 19. Okay. Are we okay so far? All right. Excuse me. Now, yes. So now we're going to divide both sides by 4.99 because we want to get b by itself. So it should be. So we have our b. Alright. Now divide by that. Yes. This was fun. It's like this was fun. So if we get that, this should give us our 4. Because if we round up, that would be 5. If I round up, that would be 20. So it should be like around 4. 16, yeah. It's going to be exactly 4. So for what? 4 books purchased. Okay. All right. So sometimes just take a moment. Okay, take a moment. Now, the reason why sometimes I do things by hand, sometimes you can use a calculator, because when you take the test, whichever test it is, the GED, the ASVAT, the Accuplacer, the TEAS test, the HESI test, some of those exams you can't use a calculator. Prime example, the ASVAT. Now, will they give you something that intensive? Mostly they use round numbers, okay, or something that's easier to divide, because they want you to go into the military. So when it comes to that, you can't use a calculator. So if you know you need strengthening in something, my suggestion will be to strengthen up your multiplication facts. Okay? So, and if you're taking the GED, I know here in Maryland, you can't use it. Well, there's a calculator that's on the computer, and it shows up. Sometimes it shows up for some places. Some people will have the calculator available the whole time. Each facility is different. I don't know why. But then the Accuplacer, I know in Maryland you can't use a calculator. But in other places, I think someone said in New Mexico, she's like, yeah, we were able to use a calculator, but it was on the system. So again, every state is different. So I'd rather us practice up on the mental math and doing it by hand. But if they give you a calculator, yay. Like, yay. All right? Okay. So again, if you need any assistance, if you're thinking about taking any of those exams, or if you're a homeschool parent and then you're thinking of like, hey, I really like for my daughter or my kid to learn these concepts and all that, you can go right ahead. If anything, let me see if I can raise it up here before it does something weird. Okay, so make sure you follow me. Okay. Sorry for this disruptions. I really like to make sure that when I'm live, that it's a safe space for everyone. There's only so much I can get. I know there's going to be trolls that's going to be in here, but at the same time, I want you to feel safe that you can ask questions. And because I know when we were growing up, if you're like, I'm 53, soon to be 54, and children were supposed to be seen, not heard. So it was always yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. That's it. So when I see kids like really just talking any kind of way to their parents, I'm like, man, I would have been deceased a long time ago. But if anything, when you go to my profile, I have my stand store. Now, you don't have to purchase anything. You could just take a look. I have a whole bunch of resources that you can go here. If you notice right here, that's my YouTube channel. I know I said it. I'm sorry. But you can go to that, and all of my replays for TikTok lives there. Okay, so at least you have that. Okay, so if you want to go there, and plus right underneath it is a free math checkup. So if you want to check your skills, see how things are going, you can do that. Okay, all right. So then if you're thinking about one-to-one tutoring, you have that. But then I have a whole bunch of digital books that you can get. It has a video library within each of the book to help break down certain concepts. So if you need more with integers, decimals, and fractions, we have proportions. We solving equations, linear equations. Hello, 4-point questions were all right here. So you have all, and you can buy the individual books. But as I go closer to the bottom, that's when I have all my bundles. So if you want any bundles, you can come all the way down here to get all my bundles at the rates, and the practice books. So if you need any of the practice books, and some of them will have a video explanation and some of them will not. So go, take a look. All right, if you rather have the books on Amazon, you can go all the way to the bottom and you can get your books off of Amazon. But I think this is going to be a better option for you. Just go ahead and do the free math checkup. And if you want me to look over and be able to break down why is the answer this and why is the answer that, just let me know. Okay? All right. All right. So I'm glad you guys had fun. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning, I think at 7:45 because it is Saturday. And I might see, but I am starting to go live on on this channel. So I'm starting to go live there. Not every day. I'm thinking about just on Mondays. But I think I'm going to go live again on Saturday afternoon. But I'll let you know after the Saturday morning session when I go live. And if you want the link of my stand store, you can go ahead and just peruse them out. Alright, I'm glad it was fun for you guys. It was always fun for me. Alright everyone, have an amazing day. And if you need any assistance, please do not hesitate to message me. That's the only way you can get your questions answered. Message me, okay? Don't just say hi because I delete those, okay, immediately. Because I don't want any more sugar daddies. I don't want any more like, oh, I just think you're beautiful. I appreciate you loving my soul. Appreciate that. But no, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to basically to teach, to help people have, basically be able to show their greatness to the world. And let this thing called math get out of the way. Alright? Alright everyone, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye now.